It is 4 p.m. We're bringing developing news and the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Edling Gao. The headlines of this are: Leyte Congressman Martin Romualdez says he trusts the Office of the Ombudsman to do an impartial and thorough evaluation of allegations against him. The former speaker says he has willingly submitted himself to the state's fact-finding process and has remained in the country. For him, and we quote, "No sworn or credible evidence has ever linked me to any irregularity, and again, my conscience remains clear." Romualdez's statement comes after the Public Works Department and the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or the ICI, recommended charges of plunder, graft, and bribery against him and resigned Congressman Zaldy Co. Boxes of documents were submitted by the ICI and the DPWH, including information tied to nearly 100 billion pesos worth of contracts that have been linked to Co. The referral to the Ombudsman also cites earlier accusations by the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee inquiry witness Orly Guteza. The former Marine Sergeant claimed to have served as Co's security consultant who delivered bags of cash from project kickbacks to Co and to Romualdez.
Speaker Martin Romualdez, siya ang naging speaker from 2022 to 2025. Si former Congressman Zaldy Co ang napili na Committee on Appropriations Chairman. At ang sinasabi nung referral na to ay dun sa relationship na yon, no, nangyari itong mga iba't ibang kontratang ito. Facts lang lahat ito.
Hindi pwedeng maghugas kamay ang mga public officials. Bakit? Walang pumilit sa kanila. Kaya tanggapin nila yung obligasyon. Tanggapin nila na kailangan silang sumunod sa mga batas.
Hours before the DPWH and the ICI is filing with the Ombudsman, President Bongbong Marcos himself confirmed the possible cases against Romualdez and Co. In his vlog, Marcos also expressed confidence that the Office of the Ombudsman will only file cases backed by strong evidence.
Ang ICI at saka ang DPWH ay lahat ng nakuha nila na informasyon ay ire-refer, ibibigay na sa Ombudsman para imbestigahan ng Ombudsman. Ito ay tungkol sa mga informasyon ng dating Speaker Martin Romualdez at saka ni Zaldy Co. Pag nakita lahat ng ebidensya, baka mag-file ng kaso ng plunder o anti-graft o indirect bribery. Malakas naman ang loob natin na yung Ombudsman, ang ginagawa lamang ay sumusunod sa ebidensya. At kung saan tayo dinadala ng ebidensya, doon pupunta ang ating investigasyon.
Senator Rodante Marcoleta urges the Ombudsman, Boying Remulla, to clarify his earlier statement about, and we quote, bending the law but not breaking the law. During the Senate plenary debates on the Ombudsman's proposed 2026 budget earlier today, Marcoleta said the public may misunderstand Remulla's remarks. Budget sponsor Senator Win Gatchalian defended the Ombudsman, calling it a figure of speech. Marcoleta, however, insisted that Remulla should issue a public explanation or apology to avoid confusion among citizens.
Publicly, he declares that he upholds the law to the fullest. Pero in reality, it is not being done. How can you put a requirement which is not in the law? Yun po yung aking ikinatatakot, ikinababahala, na nami-mislead po yung ating mga mamamayan. You say that you abide by the law strictly, but you say publicly that you can bend the law. He can make a clarification or he can make public apology for saying that.
Marcoleta even requested to suspend plenary rules so Remulla could speak directly, but the majority denied the request.
With all due respect to the good gentleman from Tarlac and Pampanga, the Senator Marcoleta, we have very, very rarely given way to such a motion to suspend the rules, especially during budget plenary deliberations, with all due respect to Senator Marcoleta. So I apologize that it may not be possible.
We are not entertaining the motion.
We are not entertaining the motion, Mr. President, but the chairman remains fully capable of addressing the important issue.
And here are the other stories we're watching this Friday, November 21. Senator Win Gatchalian says that Cassandra Ong is at large as she faces a qualified human trafficking case. Ong is one of the incorporators of the raided POGO firm Lucky South 99 in Porac, Pampanga. Gatchalian, budget sponsor of the Justice Department, said she was released from detention during the transition from the 19th to the 20th Congress before any case was filed. The senator added that authorities are now searching for Ong after a warrant of arrest was issued last May. Former Bamban-Tarlac Mayor Alice Go has filed a motion to remain at the Pasig City Jail's female dormitory, delaying her transfer to the Correctional Institution for Women in Mandaluyong City. The motion is scheduled for a hearing on November 26. A Pasig court earlier sentenced Go and 7 others to 20 to 40 years in prison for qualified human trafficking over POGO and scam hub operations. The International Criminal Court's Appeals Chamber is set to issue its decision on former President Duterte's appeal against his continued detention in The Hague. That will be out on November 28 at 5:30 p.m. Philippine time. Duterte is challenging an earlier ruling by the pretrial Chamber 1 that denied his request for provisional release. Duterte is detained at the ICC over alleged crimes against humanity. And joining us today is our partner, Regina Lay, who's on Zoom. Si Reggio. I think you're on mute.
Oh, I'm not used to it.
Oh.
Hi, Bo. Yes.
Akala ko ako lang ang laging nakamute eh.
Oo nga, it's hard pala, no? Pag remote ka.
Oo.
Loko, si Ronald is tempted to reach out and press the mute button.
Oh, ganon. I see.
Mas maganda pala pag yung principal naka-zoom. No?
Oh, di ba?
Oo, di ba? Medyo mo,
The boys can run amok.
medyo mo
Buti
bang
na lang wala ka next week.
medyo mo bang i-overrule?
Oo nga eh.
Aba, parehas tayong wala. Ano?
Teka, totoo nga to. Kaya talaga. Teka, before we introduce bakit tayo introduce? Kita ka na kanina pa. Sige, introduce na nga natin.
Unlike yung principal, wala namang masyado nakakakilala sa akin.
Naks naman yung mga ganun.
Next naman, bumawi ka pa.
Yung mga ganyang hita ka.
Tawag ba ron? False humility.
False modesty.
False
False
modesty.
is in uno, false is in omnibus.
Oh, yan.
As they
Yan
say.
tuloy,
Oh.
Nahilita ko ito ng Latin.
Parang kanya na. Parang Comelec Omnibus Law.
Exactly. False in one thing, false in everything.
Di naman, di naman.
Hoy, interesting yung ay sorry, hindi po napapakilala. Si Reg at saka si Ronald. My apologies there.
Medyo hindi lumabas sa news natin yung kay Marcoleta.
Nga, lumabas nga ito.
Ay, lumabas ba yung show cause order ng
Hindi.
Nag-show cause order ng Comelec.
Lumabas
para sa
kagabi
kanyang,
in some of
kwan.
our newscasts. I remember.
Sose.
Oh, it's actually interesting to listen to Marcoleta now asking Boying Remulla to apologize for his bend the law statement when si Marcoleta is being asked to explain why he chose to ignore the law apparently
Sa Sose.
on the request at the request of his donors. When the Omnibus Election Code clearly states that the SOSE, the statement of contributions, should be itemized and detailed.
Kaya nga relevant yung news na yon na maglalabas ng show cause order kay Marcoleta na miyembro ng Iglesia ni Cristo dahil kakatapos lang ng rally ng Iglesia ni Cristo. Diba? So, magagalit ba sila? Mag-rally ba sila uli?
Ikaw, naghanap ka naman ng gulo.
Hindi, kaya interesting yung Comelec decision na yun.
Sige, teka. Tanong muna lang si Reg. Reg, nasa photo booth ka?
Hindi. I had to find a quiet spot. Tinan mo. I don't know how to show
Alam mo yung mga photo mi dati.
I don't know how to show my background, but I'm at the Manila Peninsula kakatapos lang ng, well, it's not yet over, pero I just, the reason hindi ako umabot dyan is because I had to do a fireside chat with Boying Remulla. And it was all very last minute. Kasi initially, his team said he's just gonna deliver a speech, hindi na siya Q&A. And then biglang, pagdating niya dito, suddenly, it's like, oh, okay, I have time. I could do 30 minutes.
Oh.
So I got roped in to do that. And so first of all, wala pang kaso against former Speaker Romualdez.
Yeah.
So I asked him, what are you looking at for him? And sabi niya, well, I haven't studied the evidence. We will study the evidence. For Zaldy Co, of course, it's going to be graft. Most likely, it will be graft and malversation. Here's the reason. Kasi inamin naman ni Ombudsman Remulla that he's actively trying to avoid plunder as a crime because plunder is notoriously difficult to prosecute, right? Because nagsulat ng jurisprudence ang Supreme Court dati, adding 2 new conditions to plunder. The second condition is the plunderer must have personally received the money and personally benefited from it. So how do you prove something like that, right?
Kailangan
Pero parang plunder yung final ni Vince Dizon at saka ni Babe Singson kanina sa ombudsman.
Yun yung recommended charges, but ultimately ang ombudsman ang magcha-charge, diba?
Reko pa lang yun.
Sana in-interview mo si Vince Dizon, nandyan din siya sa peninsula kanina.
In-interview ko nga din.
Yan, oo.
So, teka lang, tapusin ko muna si Ombudsman Remulla. So, yung kay Ombudsman Remulla, yun nga, he will study the evidence, but, you know, where possible, they want to veer away from plunder kasi mahirap i-prosecute ang plunder. And, actually, no one has been successfully detained for it, right? Si former President Estrada was convicted, but he was eventually pardoned. So yun nga, meron stigma around plunder. And malversation, sabi niya, you know, you can also still get, long jail time for malversation, depending on how you file the case. What's interesting na sinabi niya is, so si Ombudsman Remulla and former Speaker Romualdez are close. They used to be friends. I say used to be kasi according to Remulla, hindi na sila nag-uusap. He doesn't even pick up his calls. Sabi ko kasi, I thought former Speaker Romualdez called you. Sabi niya, he was trying to call me, pero hindi ko na sinasagot because, you know, I'm in a different position now and mahirap na because the time for talking is over. Kumbaga.
So he's ghosting, he's ghosting Romualdez?
Sabi niya, di na daw niya sinasagot yung tawag. And then the other thing is, yung anak daw ni Ombudsman Remulla, his children, a lot of people are not talking to them anymore because of what their father is doing, sabi niya. Because remember, si Ombudsman Remulla came from a political family. So, a lot of these people that are being investigated, you know, the politicians, they're friends with them, right? Pero sabi niya, you know, a consequence of what he's doing is hindi na sila, yung mga anak niya, hindi na daw kinakausap na ibang tao.
Pero very clear kasi yun eh. Dahil, alimbawa, ba't mo sasagutin yung tawag ng isang akusado? You will not do that as an ombudsman.
Well, don't forget, hindi pa siya akusado at this point. There's no charges yet.
It's public na eh. It's optics eh. Kung lalabas yan halimbawa sa Storycon, na sinasagot niya yung tawag ni Speaker Martin. Iba yung ang pangit ng optics noon.
Yeah.
Diba?
Oo.
Kahit misdial lang, no?
Oo. So, and then with Zaldy Co, he said the same things he told us, which is, of course, they're gonna try to track him down. Meron naman devices, and they rely on the governments of other sovereign states to help bring him back home if it comes to that. The other interesting thing he said about yung mga kaso is talagang they're really gonna go after restitution and the return of the illegal gotten wealth, to the point na they could use the civil forfeiture law, right, which says, okay, yung anything above what you declared is deemed ill-gotten.
Above
right?
your
And therefore,
legitimate salary.
above your legitimate salary can be deemed ill-gotten, and therefore the government should be able to seize that. Merong civil forfeiture law kasi tayo na hindi pa nagagamit. And in fact, yun din yung sinabi niya, which is marami daw powers ang Office of the Ombudsman na hindi lang alam because hindi siya naggamit in the last 6 or 7 years. In fact, he called the previous ombudsman inactive, right? So sabi niya, he studied it, and he found a lot of powers that he could exercise in order to hold these people to account. And malalaman daw natin in the next few days, next few weeks. Yeah.
Okay. So, may timetables ba siya for the case against Romualdez? Given nga na may recommendation na yung DPWH and yung ICI, did he talk about timetables?
No timetables yet. He says he has to study it. And again, they keep repeating, they have to be evidence-based. So
yeah.
he'll study the evidence and they'll figure it out. But he did say na, kasi di ba, si President Marcos promised na by many people will spend Christmas in jail, right? Na maraming hindi magkaka-Merry Christmas this year. And I asked him that, and he said, yes, we can get there in terms of putting people in jail by Christmas. So he seems convinced by it.
Ay, ko lang yung kagabi yung forum where Remulla was a guest. He was asked by Winnie Monsod. Di ba? Si Winnie was trying to pin him down eh. What about in 6 to 8 months, do you think will charges be filed already against Martin Romualdez? And he said, I don't know if he was forced to say it. He said yes.
Oo, parang oo nga, parang napilitan siya, no?
So we don't know if it
and then
was a real committed yes or it was a sige na nga, yes.
Sabi niya yes, but again, as of this point, hindi pa natin alam kung ano pwede ipin down. And this brings me to my conversation with DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon earlier today. So yung forum na to, nag-umpisa with a fireside chat with Dizon. And I was pressing him, so you delivered boxes and boxes of evidence to the Ombudsman's office. Anong laman? What do we have as evidence there? And sabi niya, well, we have the contracts that High Tone and SunWest got from the years, was it 2016 to 20... I can't remember the latter year, but over a period of time, High Tone and SunWest, which are linked to Zaldy Co, cornered a lot of government contracts. So that's one thing. The other thing is yung testimonies. So I pressed him a little bit, anong evidence niyo against Speaker Romualdez? And he said, well, we have the testimony from the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing. That's a little bit problematic to me because obviously, by that he means the testimony of Orly Guteza, who can't be found right now, right? Yun lang it seems like at this point, yun lang yung meron sila. That's the only thing they've got on hand, which is the testimony of Orly Guteza. But as we all know, Orly Guteza is missing. Or maybe, I don't know if missing is the right word, but he hasn't been seen, right? Si Senator Ping Lacson wants to invite him back into the Senate hearings so he could testify again. But I don't know what's happened to that. So yun. So far it sounds like the only evidence they have against Speaker Romualdez is the testimonies, right?
Pero Reg, kung meron silang, it was a calculated move. Calculated moves ay may rigor yan. Ibig sabihin, kung meron silang evidence, hindi katulad ng ICC, hindi nila i-announce sa media. Dahil magsasuffer yung kanilang kaso. Kaya ang ilalabas na nila yung pang-public, no? Which isn't much. No? But when the decision was made, it was calculated na decision na yan na sabi nga nung iba, parang afterthought. Pero kanyan, major yan. Kakasuhan mo yung isa sa, or the main linchpin, allegedly, no? Allegedly, itong mga nakaraang mga buwan, dito sa corruption, sa GAA, etc., no? Ay major decision yan. It's not only a legal decision, it's not only a political decision, it's a family decision. Yung nanay ng presidente, isa Romualdez. Diba? So, for them, it is very major. No? At mapapahiya sila kung hindi nila dadalhin yan sa, anong sabi ng Presidente? No? Sa where the evidence will lead them. No? Ang sinasabi ko lang, not necessarily walang evidence. No? Ang sinasabi kasi ni Vince, ito, si Gutesa who is missing, Zaldy Co na wala rito, contracts which are, hindi naman nakalagay yung mga kickbacks, etc. Pero baka, in the real world, baka meron silang mas malakas na kaso na ipepresenta sa korte, not sa media.
Na hindi pa natin alam. Baka
Media ka eh.
baka bigyan mo
Media ka.
kunwari hindi
So,
tayo kunwari hindi tayo news program or talk show, kunwari kunwari vlog lang tayo.
Vlog,
Pareho lang
media
yun.
rin yun eh.
Social media hindi yun media.
Sabi mo, hindi naman sila journalist eh. Hindi naman sila journalist, vlogger sila eh. Away na naman yan.
Anong intriga pa eh.
So Ronald is absolutely right. Tama ka, Ronald. There is a sense that baka they have a smoking gun. Maybe they have something else na ayaw pa nila sabihin at this point. Because, yun nga, I with Vince Dizon and with Ombudsman Remulla, I did try to grill them in terms of what do you have at this point. I will say, si Ombudsman Remulla strikes me as a very careful lawyer. Right? Alam na niya yung jurisprudence. Alam na niya.
Calculating lawyer.
Oo. Because he's not just a lawyer, don't forget. He's also a political creature, right? So, over the course of our conversation, we were talking about the many ways that these defendants will try to get out of these cases. Alam na niya lahat yon. He knows medical reasons is one excuse. He knows the many motions that they can file to delay and delay and delay the cases, which is why kinakausap na niya yung Supreme Court in terms of tweaking the rules of court so that mabilis yung trial, walang delay, right? Because that's what the other cases, for example, during the PDAF time, were infamous for. Parang inordinate delay, kumbaga, and in the end, it benefited the guilty, right, the accused. So si Ombudsman Remulla strikes me as a person who is very well aware of how these high-powered people can use high-powered lawyers to delay the cases, to get out of them, to get them dismissed, and so on and so forth. And he's ready to respond to them. Although, of course, hindi niya sasabihin sa akin kung ano yung strategy.
Yun yung sinasabi niya kanina sa Senate, na galit si Marcoleta na bending the law. No? Bending the law. Kailangan pabilisin. More than the normal process, no, ng ating judicial system. No? Ikalawa ay, sabi nga natin kanina, Reg, na ito yung recommended ng ICI at saka ng DPWH, plunder. Pero sabi ni Boying Remulla ay mas mahirap yon, mas madali yung malversation with falsification of documents na parehas naman non-bailable. Pero in the real world, baka naman nag-uusap sila. In the real world, no?
That's also true.
No? In the real world, baka hindi naman ganun sila ka-separate. Ibig sabihin, may kaunti rin consultation.
Let me just break in something. We have breaking story. President Bongbong Marcos has announced that there's already an arrest warrant against Zaldy Co. I'm trying to get more details as we talk, pero that came from our producer, si Jana Cosa, that the President has said, or has announced, na meron na pong warrant of arrest versus Zaldy Co.
And in relation dyan, nag-press con si Speaker Martin kanina, no, at yung House, yung kanyang mga supporters kanina, with the lawyers. Hindi ko alam kung kasama si Speaker Martin. Sinasabi nila, open sila sa investigation, tatanggapin nila lahat ito, pero for now, ang sinasabi nila, yung ebidensya laban sa kanila ay yung testimony ni Zaldy Co at Gutesa, Zaldy Co na wala rito, at si Gutesa na missing. Ang alam ko, yun ang sinabi nila kanina sa press con. So yun naman ang sagot nila dito kay Boying, Babes, at saka si Secretary Vince Dizon.
Itong arrest warrant, by the way, Bok, expected na to. Because
Yes.
kanina
Yeah.
din when all the
Yes.
reporters here were ambush interviewing si Ombudsman Remulla, they were asking him, kailan lalabas yung warrant? And he was
Yes.
saying, anytime now lalabas na, which means they were already in touch with the courts. They knew it was
Yeah.
coming. What I will say, again, I hate saying it, pero tama ka, Ronald. Because mukhang a lot of it is signaling, right? So they will say something publicly. It's a signal to the other side na, okay, this is what we're gonna do. And for example, yung kanina napag-usapan din namin yung plea bargains. So si Ombudsman Remulla was saying they will allow plea bargains for some of the individuals in this flood control scandal. Pero kailangan maaga. You have to come forward early in the process. Hindi yung nasa huli na, towards the end, mako-convict ka na, saka ka lang
Hahabol ka na
makikita
lang.
ang plea.
When you lost your chance to get a better
and
deal.
definitely not for the principals.
Definitely. Well, sabi ko nga, surely it doesn't apply to all kasi some are more guilty than others, right? Sabi niya, yes. So, yung mga papayagan lang nila is of course the ones who, come forward early and, cooperate with the authorities and spill the beans. Kumbaga, and hindi nga pwede doon sa mga pinaka-guilty, sa mga masterminds.
Yeah.
We were talking
Yeah.
last night to Zaldy Co sa lawyer si Rui Rondain. Ang sabi niya kagabi sa big story was Zaldy Co likely come in if number one, the government or the prosecutors or the ombudsman say that they will not oppose a petition for bail on the part of Zaldy Co. And number two, they will not oppose a petition for example, house arrest. Kasi si Zaldy raw wants to have control over his own security and not just be jailed kung saan gusto ng gobyerno
Yep.
dahil nanganganib daw yung kanyang buhay.
Pustahan, hindi bibigay yun.
Oh, yeah.
Hindi yan bibigay.
Pero at the same time, now we have an arrest warrant against Zaldy Co. So you can imagine that forthcoming will be either an extradition petition if he's an extraditable country or a request for a red notice to the Interpol for his arrest by whatever country he already is right now. So that may preempt any hope on the part of Zaldy Co that he can get a deal for house arrest.
Actually, kung titingnan mo in the scheme of things, yung mga witnesses, pinapackage ni Zaldy siya as a possible witness. Sabi nga niya, wala akong nakuha ni isang sentimo. Diba? Pero wala naman kasi maniniwala ron eh. Ang tingin sa kanya, principal
Sabi nga kay Atty. Rondoy kagabi, we understand that he wants to come across as coming clean, but he's coming across naman as too clean. Parang, who's going to believe that after handling so many billions of pesos in kickbacks, you're going to say, wala akong parte dyan.
Ano sabi ni Atty.?
Yeah, I understand what you mean, sabi ni Atty. Rondoy, na everything that we do, everything we argue will have to be within the realm of human experience.
Yun yung kaibahan kay Bernardo. In-accept kasi ni Bernardo yung kanyang role at yung kanyang pakinabang doon sa role na yon. Ang alam ko, baka hindi pa lumalabas, baka nagsoli na siya ng part ng kanyang kinuha, which is huge.
Or at least nag-commit ng
Kaya, inaayos niya na siya ay maging state witness.
Yan ang restitution.
Magtetestiga ako sa mga principals, magsosoli ako ng pera, pero gawin niyo akong state witness na immune from suit at saka hindi nakukunin yung natitira. No? So, si Zaldy baka mahirapan.
Pero doon pa lang you can already see the defenses forming di ba? Again, ulitin ko, there are two very difficult conditions for plunder. Number one is you have to identify a main plunderer. So sino yung main plunderer here, right? Okay, let's say na-identify mo na. The second condition is this main plunderer should have personally received the money and personally benefited from it.
Or the
So
prosecutors have to have evidence to show that the plunder actually received the money.
Correct, exactly. So yung prosecutor has to prove that point, and you can already see with the defenses with, for example, Attorney Ronde, na mukhang they are getting ready to argue that we never benefited from it. He never benefited from it, right? So the burden of proof is on the prosecution to prove na, okay, you benefited it. You bought all those aircraft using plundered money, for example, which is incredibly difficult
Yes.
to prove at this
Yes.
point. Yeah.
Yes.
Kasi wala namang serial numbering. But
Dapat cash. Uy, yung mga
the other
yung
question
mga
I asked
bumili
from
ng
Dane was
kotse is
this, eh.
cash.
Kaya yung chopper ko tsaka yung jet ko, hindi ko nilagay sa pangalan ko eh. Hindi
yung,
niyo ako mahahabol.
yung water jet sa shower mo.
Uy, sabi nila they can seize the assets kahit na it's not under your name. There is a principle as ano yun? Piercing the corporate veil.
Yeah, yung
right? So
sinasabi
even
ni Cielo Magno. Na beneficial.
kahit na ipangalan mo sa iba, there's a legal principle known as piercing the corporate veil nga, which they can employ to, get
pinangalan ko,
to pin it
assuming
on
they
you.
can pierce the corporate veil.
Pinangalan ko kay Manny Mogato eh. Ang
Tapos kailangan
layo,
mong gisingin
ang
yun.
layo, di ba?
Malayo na yun.
Ang layo, di ba?
But si Mogs likes to expose himself eh. Yung parati nakabukay yung t-shirt niya.
nakalabas yung neighbor.
Wait.
Ang sama nyo.
Grabe naman.
What kind of friends are you?
Kagabi we were talking to Ronday. I also asked him about yung mga photographs na nilabas ni Zaldy Co about yung photographs ng luggage. Sabi ko, ang problem with the first video ni Zaldy Co is he was showing photos of luggage with a timestamp na January or February 2024, March and October 2024, before the start of the BICAM in November 2024. And then, ang 2025 was in March or May, May 2025, when he was no longer Appropriations Committee Chair. Ang sabi ni Ronday, but that's likely, those photos of suitcases are likely not about the 100 billion pesos na insertions.
Iba yun.
They must have been from previous years of insertions. Baka people are just confusing the two. Sabi ko, but at the same time, sir, you were telling us na in fact, according to you, sabi mo si Zaldy Co had to ask DPWH for the 100 billion peso insertion, magkano ba yung porsyento ng Malacanang dyan? 25% daw. So, kung for 2025 budget pa lang niya nalaman kung magkano yung porsyento ng Malacanang, bakit 2024 and previous budgets, nagtatabi na siya for Malacanang?
Tsaka ang nagbibigay kasi yan usually ay yung contractor.
Yun. That's the other thing.
Hindi naman gobyerno nagbibigay. Contractor na nagbibigay.
May pa sa
may ikot pa yun
diba?
sa kwan. Pero para na tayong mga prosecutor nito.
Okay. So I asked him that second question din, and parang he just muddled around a bit.
Actually, yun ang trabaho ng high-paying lawyers. No, yun ang trabaho nila. Huwag mong maliitin yung kanilang skill set. Doon sila naghahanap buhay. No, yun ang kwan eh.
Alam mo, ang tragedy dyan is because we've seen this rodeo, we've been to this rodeo before, and we've seen this game before, is the upside is, alam na nila what to expect, right? Alam na nila, like I said,
and they also know the questions that will be asked
ipafile.
in the prosecution of the case. That's also the other side of the if we keep on asking these questions, they will learn to practice.
Yun sinasabi ko
So,
kanina
kasalanan
pa.
naman natin.
Yun sinasabi ko kanina
Media kasi.
Media kasi.
Tanong ng tanong.
Tanong kayo ng tanong eh.
Balikan mo lang, isasabi ni Ron kanina na perhaps they already have the smoking gun. You remember that? You were saying that perhaps they already have the smoking gun. They're just not showing it yet. But kita mo, sinabi mo kanina linaw-linaw eh. But my take on that is this there are two ways to look at a smoking gun. One way is, may smoking gun na kami, patay ka. The other way of looking at it is, may smoking gun kami, pwede ko nang burahin yung fingerprints. Bago ko ilabas.
Ang tingin ko lang at this point kasi, lumampas na doon yung gobyerno, lumampas na din yung presidente. Yung kanyang approval ratings is plunging. Nakikita na nila yung data analytics. They have to take away the millstone around their neck. No? So, tingin ko, it's no longer a flimsy attempt at simple optics. No? Optics. Dahil ang hirap mo na yun isole sa box, sa Pandora's box.
Yeah.
Binuksan mo na
It's no longer an albatross around your neck, it's a millstone.
Yes. No? So kung wala kang gagawin para dalhin yan where the evidence will lead you, ay delikado ka. Huwag mong kalimutan, kahit nagkaroon siya ng breathing space last weekend, the crisis remains. No? The crisis remains. And it can explode again anytime. Kaya bago pa mangyari yon, tinanggal na nila yung millstone around their neck. No? Whether that will be efficient or we have yet to see sa susunod na mga surveys. It's about plunging approval ratings.
But that's assuming that they can remove the millstone from the neck and know to let it go. Baka mamaya it's tied to the wrist.
Well, pag,
And not
Same
get
thing.
tainted by it.
pag nagsampa ka na ng malversation with falsification of public documents na non-bailable, no? Paano yun? Do or die na yun.
Especially against, for
Oo.
example,
Yes.
the president's cousin.
Yes. Kung magsasampa ka naman ng much lesser than yung malversation, walang epekto masyado.
But Pok, on the other hand, how far can the president peddle the idea that all this was happening in my own front yard and I had nothing to do with it?
Well, labanan na yan ng mga spin doctors. No? Labanan na yan ng media. No?
Ayan na naman, sabi ko na eh.
Labanan na yan doon, no?
Kasi,
It's about, ano ba, kay Bersamin?
Bersamin 1, Bersamin 2.
Oh, ang lapit-lapit sa'yo. No? The
Hindi
closest.
lang malapit
No?
your little president.
Pangandaman. Pero the decision was made nung na-implicate sila kay Bernardo. No? Nung hindi na nila nagagawa yung kanilang trabaho. Mali ang timing. Dapat sana ginawa mo a few days earlier.
Oo.
Di ba?
Or
Yun yung-
sana even before the rally.
Yun yung mali. Pero ibig sabihin, decisions have been made much earlier. Di ba? Yun ang sinasabi ko. Na yung decision na yon ay hindi lang optics. No? Yung decision na yon ay talagang pakawala na.
Bok, we have the video of President Marcos announcing yung arrest warrant against Zaldy Co. Can we play that first?
Ito po ay isa pang report na aking ginagawa upang malaman ng taong bayan kung ano na ang nangyayari tungkol sa mga flood control na kaso na naging iskandalo. At kung paano kung ano ang mga ating nagawa upang mapanagot ang mga may kagagawan nito. Kaya nais kong i-report na ang ombudsman nagpormal ng naghain ng kaso laban kina Zaldy Co at iba pang 17 individual batay sa mga ebidensyang iniakyat ng ICI at saka ng DPWH. Hindi po ito haka-haka, hindi po ito kwento. Ito po ay tunay na ebidensya. At ito po, para hindi ko na babasahin, pero makikita naman ninyo sa phone ninyo, ito yung listahan ng may arrest warrant na. At ang susunod na hakbang, ay wala nang paligoy-ligoy pa, ang ating mga otoridad ay siyempre papatupad na nila itong mga arrest warrant na ito. Aarestuhin na sila, ihaharap sa korte at pananagutin sa batas. Walang special na pagtrato, walang sinasanto. Ako ang nagsimula nitong lahat. Ako ang magtatapos. Kaya't asahan po ninyo na wala pong tigil itong aming ginagawa. At kahit na parang napakatagal ang dumaan na panahon, ako'y nagpapasalamat sa pasensya ng ating mga kababayan. Ngunit nagbunga na ng resulta ang mga pasensya ninyo.
Talagang he had to emphasize, ako nagsimula nito, ako magtatapos.
That's a good soundbite, no?
Oo nga eh.
Maganda,
parang
maganda.
pelikula, parang FPJ yung dating, di ba? Pero, Bok, I'm sure then, when it comes to the point where charges are filed against Martin Romualdez, siya rin kaya mag-announce? Will you also do this vlog?
I think so.
Diba?
I mean, who else can announce it eh? Diba?
Yeah, tsaka yung high impact if he makes the announcement himself of the charges against his cousin.
Correct. Correct.
That will that would at least be a clear attempt to try to dissolve yung criticism against him that he's protecting his cousin.
But I come back to the fact na yung boxes and boxes of evidence that were submitted to the ombudsman today came from DPWH. If the cousin is involved, hindi naman siya at that level eh. It wouldn't be. We gotta look at budget documents here. Right? And for example, yun nasa na yung record ng small committee in terms of the insertions and who moved what amount of money. Doon mo makikita. I don't think the DPWH has access to any like hard documents that can pin down the former speaker, right? Which is what I was asking Vince Dizon nga kanina. And of course, yung ICI, wala naman din silang sariling documents. Everything that they have were given to them. So that's what I was looking for. I'm not sure that there's a smoking gun at this point, pero tama din si Ronald, baka hindi pa nilalabas.
Yeah, kasi in the case of Zaldy Co, the charges against him were based on the fact, I think, that he was a founder and possibly co-beneficiary of SunWest, which was involved in ghost projects. So, yun ang tuhog-tuhog doon. In the case of Martin Romualdez, I don't know kung ano yung pwedeng pangsundot.
Oo, wala pa eh. Wala
diba?
pa eh.
Ikaw, may nalaman ka ba dyan?
Oo.
Kasi ako abogado eh. Ako ay guest lang eh. Tapos tingnan mo, nakaputi sila, di ba? Eh, alam mo naman
May ano ba yan? May ibig sabihin ba yan?
Of course, yung November 30, White Ribbon Movement yan. Yung trillion peso movement. It's about as pure as doves.
As driven snow.
As pure as doves, as wise as serpents. Ikaw na yung dove, ako na yung serpent.
Okay, sige.
Diba? Okay na yung ganung division. Paano si Principal?
I agree. I am the judge, the jury, and the executioner.
Wow, talagang principal na principal eh.
Bigla ko natandaan yung pinaskill ni Justice Reyes na ayun, love is nilabas siya ng isang linggo.
What the world needs now is love, sweet love. Diba? Pero kanya it's part of the optics, yung mga kahong-kahong ebidensya.
Part of the
diba? Bagay ng optics. No? 2/3 ng labanan is optics.
Pero going back to the question that we raised a while ago, in the case kasi of Zaldy Co, I think yung pangsundot sa kanya dun sa first case that was filed and resulting in the arrest warrant was the fact that he was a founder of SunWest, which is involved in ghost projects, and a possible co-beneficiary or beneficial relative of SunWest. But what about in the case of Martin Romualdez? What are we missing out on here? What could yung mga tingin na yan, no? Ano kaya yung theoretically, ano kaya yung
Hypothetically.
ano kaya yung maaring ipangkabit sa kanya that would merit
hindi tayo privy sa evidence nila eh. Pero pero kung i-guess natin, ay posibleng may magko-corroborate na mga lower ranking people sa gobyerno.
You mean testimony?
Oo.
Testimonial evidence?
Yes, pwedeng merong dyan, may counting paper trail, or may mga tao yung si Speaker Martin, katulad ni E.S. Bersamin, yung kanyang grandnephew, na nalink dyan. Kaya parang may certain element ng culpability. Pero may combination ka ng prima facie, meron kang circumstantial, meron kang corroborative testimonies. So it could be a combination of a lot of things. Could be. Anong sinasabi naman ng kampo nila, Martin? As far as they're concerned, ang nakikita lang nilang evidence ay yung testimony ni Zaldy Co at yung alleged testimony ni Gutesa. So, yun naman ang sinasabi nila, halimbawa sa press con nila kanina.
Like for example, if they can get one or two more people who will corroborate allegations made by
mahalaga
Zaldy
yung
Co
corroboration.
at delivery.
Halimbawa, kung lalabas si Gutesa,
may resibo ng lalamove.
o lalabas si Gutesa, i-corroborate si Zaldy Co. Anong ginawa kasi ni Zaldy Co? Kinorroborate si Gutesa. Kaso parang nawala yung testimony ni Gutesa. Mismo si Gutesa nawala. So anong kino-corroborate ni Zaldy Co? Ngayon, kung susulpot si Gutesa at i-corroborate niya yung sinasabi ni Zaldy Co, that's different. No? So meron ka ngayong another smoking gun. Ang sinasabi ko, they may have several smoking guns.
So, possibly several witnesses.
Possibly. Dahil hindi naman
sinasabi
hindi naman
Ronde-
basta-basta si Kwan si Speaker Martin Romualdez, di ba? Hindi lang dahil siya ay cousin. Siya yung number 4 sa list of succession.
Yeah.
Di ba?
The speaker, at least, used to be.
At yung budget na nag-emanate, di ba, sa house na yan. Kaya hindi yan basta-basta na kaso.
Actually, may sinasabi pa si Atty. Rondain kagabi na we have receipts. Sabi na, sir, you mean receipts as in received? Ganon? Yeah.
Kaya next time,
I saw the photograph of the receipt, parang acknowledgement receipt. Sir, pero sir, kung magpapalitan tayo ng pera ng bilyon-bilyones na illegal, ba't ka why will you put it in writing?
next time, pag binigyan kita ng kickback, Ed, pumirma ka, hindi ka pipirma. No?
But then again, it comes back to what we were saying. Could be, lang yan, psych war.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Could just be signaling na, we've got this, and we've got this leverage. Kayo, meron kayo. It could just be a very public psych war. And the
trabaho
other
ng
thing I will
kanyan.
add is,
Could be
trabaho
air
ng mga
war.
abogado yan.
Pwedeng air war.
Squid tactics, di ba? Yung mga abogado.
squid tactics.
Sabi nga sa kanya, attorney, kung ako magaganyan ako, hindi ko pipirmahan na tumanggap ako ng ilang bilyones sa'yo.
Yeah,
exactly. Yun nga yung hinahanap.
Gagawin ko,
yun nga yung
tatawagan
hinahanap
kita,
na
sabihin ko,
smoking
nakuha
gun,
mo ba yung pera o hindi?
Yan yung problema kay attorney. Hindi niya alam, learned ka rin. No? Sabi mismo ni Attorney Torion.
Uy, nag-happy birthday si Attorney Torion sa akin.
Yun ang problema kay Attorney Rondain. No? Dapat na back-check niya na ikaw ay hindi pwedeng paikutan. No?
Ginagoyo mo naman ako eh.
And then, one other thing na idadagdag ko is, like I said, si Ombudsman Remulla is very cognizant na maraming tactics pwedeng gawin yung defense to get out of these cases, right? So one of the things that he is looking into is putting in place talking to the Supreme Court. And the reason we say Supreme Court, kasi alam na natin mangyayari Sandigan Bayan, if they convict, it will go up to the Supreme Court. The other side, the defense will appeal and appeal and appeal until it goes up to the Supreme Court. Excuse me. So at this point pa lang, kinakausap na raw yung Supreme Court in terms of the things that they need to do to reform the system, the judicial system. Because that's a big part of the problem. Para hindi tayo umabot sa point na, okay, there's convictions, pero ma-overturn din after a little while. Right? So he says, he described Chief Justice Gasmundo as a good man. Sabi niya sa akin, I've talked to him. I know him. He's a good man. He knows this is a crisis, and he knows how serious the problem is, and he just wants to do right. So that's one other thing that's different about this case. Again, of course, corruption is not new to us, but this time around, mukhang we're at a tipping point, right? You have someone who knows how to fight this, both on the legal front and the political front.
Yes.
What was the benchmark that they have to reach certainty of conviction ba? Before they start filing?
Certainty of conviction.
Reasonable certainty of conviction before they start filing cases. Otherwise kasi baka pag umakyat na dun sa appellate courts or the Supreme Court, sayang yung pinagpaguran mo ng ilang taon.
Baka naman, near certainty.
Something like that.
Dahil nothing in life is certain. Pag-ibig lang.
Hindi rin yung
Taxes
ganun.
and death.
Pag-ibig lang
Taxes and
certain.
death.
Oo. Tsaka pag-ibig. Di ka ba naniniwala sa pag-ibig, Reg?
Hindi ako naniniwala sa certainty of love.
Sumagot naman.
Yun ang statement, di ba?
Everyone has to pay taxes and everyone is gonna die at one point, but not
We should show
everyone
that to the
gets
husband.
love, right?
That sounds like
Yun ang statement, di ba?
Speaking of, by the way, they're also looking to reform the BIR, si Ombudsman, because I mean, syempre, ito yung biggest issue on his plate, pero of course he also has oversight over all government agencies, and he acknowledged that he needs to reform the BIR as well.
Ang maganda kasi kay Ombudsman Remulla, hindi naman siya pie in the sky lawyer. Street fighter din yan eh.
Yung pie in the sky lawyer.
Oo, yung,
yung nasa,
Idealistic.
nasa pulpito lamang at
Oo, ibig sabihin na nandun din siya sa pits. Diba? Street fighter yan, naging politiko yan, naging local official yan. Diba? Nasa first 5 yan eh. Kasama ng mga kilala ko na mga kwan. AH. Oo.
Ano AH?
Hindi mo alam kung ano AH? Ha?
Ano AH?
Yung H hole eh.
Ha? Teka. Let's walk back.
Oy,
Let's walk back to scene. Matotrouble ka yan.
Hindi, kaya sinabi ko, AH na lang eh. Ikaw, pinaspell out mo pa eh.
Malay ko ba naman ganun yun, di ba?
Pag first 5 yan. Oo, hindi ko sinasabing kasama ako
First
sa
five.
first 5. Andun ako sa last 5.
Trouble tayo niya. Okay.
baka mag-leak ka.
Okay. So, there. Ang next ano na natin is what happens next to... kung lalabas sa petitions for extradition. I'm sure that's gonna follow.
Yes.
Pero yung cancellation ng passport muna.
Oh.
I mean,
Also that, no?
diba?
Nga pala, I
That's
forgot about
the
that.
fourth
Yun
way
ang
already.
mauna.
Oo.
Yun ang mauna.
Forgot about that, yeah. Cancellation
Yeah.
of passport. So that we
Tapos,
start following
mas
up on
Interpol sila dahil nga wala tayong extradition treaty sa Portugal. Although may embassy tayo ron.
Nasa Portugal ba siya
Bakit
ngayon?
nasa Portugal ba siya?
Sa ba naman narinig yan, ha? o ano?
Papunta ako ron bukas.
Kaya ka pupunta.
Baka magkape kami. No?
Ikaw ba yung susundo?
Kakape kami. No?
Ikaw ba yung susundo?
Hindi, iba pupunta ako. European Parliament ang pupunta. Wala akong pakialam sa mga ganyang mga
Uy, ang
mababang
European
uri.
Parliament nasa Brussels.
Kaya nga, Brussels nga.
Medyo malayo-layo yun sa...
Kikitain mo
Wait, that's just
hindi
one.
ka sa Portugal.
That's just one
One
hour
train ride
away
away.
by
Oh, 1 hour.
plane. By plane.
By plane?
Oh, by
Ako naman,
plane. Oh. By train, mga 5 hours. No? Pero, yung lugar namin sa Schengen, parang isang bansa lang yan eh. Hindi naman
Tawagan mo kami pag nakita mo siya.
Oh, hindi papadala ko kayo ng postcard. Gusto niyo may pirma pa niya. Gusto niyo may pirma pa niya. Para may proof of life.
If you recognize him, ang laki ng pinayat ni Zaldy Co, right?
Ay, meron akong detector na nabili sa Lazada.
Yan. Nang ano?
30% discount.
Nang ano? Detector na?
Fugitive detector. O, di ba? Politically correct yun. Akala mo kung ano sasabihin ko, no? Akala mo,
Mato-trouble na naman tayo.
uy, naka-isang oras na pala tayo. Hindi ko alam. Hindi ko naman wala yan. Mas
sige.
masarap palang
Paano ba
usapan
yan?
pag wala dito yung principal, no? Yung malayo siya. Hindi ka pwedeng hampasin, no? Hindi ka pwedeng hampasin ng kwan.
Just you wait. Just you wait. Pagbalik mo from Europe.
Pero salamat, principal, ha. Meron kang grudging na agreement sa akin. Historic yun? Historic. Yung nag-agree
Grudging.
kayo.
Oo nga eh. I hope to never say it again. Tama si Ronald.
Okay, we better move while we're ahead.
Okay, I have to go back to my conference.
Okay, maraming salamat for joining Storycon today. Tito Raul Llamas, a resident political heckler. Of course, si Reg over there. Reg, thank you for joining us kahit nandiyan ka sa labas.
Imagine mo kung pumunta rin ako sa peninsula. Imbitado rin ako ron eh.
Imagine mo, pumunta ako.
Masyadong masikip ang peninsula para sa amin dalawa.
Imagine mo kung napunta rin ng peninsula,
Sa inyo
hindi ako
dalawa.
nandyan, pinarada yung tangke sa loob ng labi. Ikaw may kasalanan dun eh. Manila Pen Siege. Anyway.
Andun ako habang ni-interview niya si Boying, kasi si Vince, andun ako, gumagalong-galong ako.
O, teka, pinapaganda na tayo.
Napaka-mature talaga, as always, no? Ronald. Uy, Vince says hello pala. When I did the fireside chat with him, sabi niya, kasama ko si Ronald kagabi.
Ako yan.
So ano pinag-usapan niyo?
Wala, nakita lang kami sa isang restaurant. No?
Hindi, nagkasama raw kayo. Hindi kayo
Nakita lang kami.
Ibang nakita sa
Hindi,
nagkasama.
nakita lang kami ron by chance.
Nagkasama, ibig sabihin, nagututan kayo at nag-inuman pa kayo siguro.
Nakita lang
sounds
kami by
like it.
chance. Oo.
Sorry eh. Sinasabi na niya eh. So I forgot to mention that. Yes.
Patapos na, hinabol pa. Talaga.
Igutay na natin, baka mahabol pang ito.
Talaga hinanda niya eh. No? Kunyari,
Okay.
kunyari afterthought.
Bibigyan
Okay.
sundot yan eh. Kasi igutay na natin si Reg. Igutay na natin si Ronald. Join us again tomorrow. Join us again on Monday at 4 p.m. for Storycon. I'm Edlin Cao. Kapatid, we are one news, all sides, all the time.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.